Good morning and welcome to another edition of Roadhouse Live. We are live. Today is October 16, 2023. Bender, man, so Friday was supposed to be Ups Day and rally and bounce off this little thing, this little cup and handle thingy majigget that it did. They didn't give it to us, buddy. They didn't do it Friday. They wanted to wait till nighttime and this morning to do it.
Of course.
How does that make you feel?
I used to get irritated, but now it's like, like I said, pre-market, and it's been said many, many times. Sometimes you have the direction, sometimes you have the plan. Timing is a whole different game.
Yeah.
Sometimes it takes the least obvious path to get to the most obvious destination. Like you've got the trade plan, you've got the setup, and sometimes, very rarely do they give it when you want them to.
Correct. Very rarely, because it's like, and just equally in looking at it, it's like when I was looking at everything kind of last night and over the weekend, just eyeballing things. It's like I knew where I wanted it to open, and instead of a gap down, we got a gap up. So then it was like, okay. So then I was like, well, it's going to sell down and fill the gap. That didn't happen either. So then I was like, okay, well, I guess I don't know what the hell I'm doing, so I don't need to be doing anything. That's kind of how I left it last night and coming into this morning. As far as like, I don't know what we're trying to do with this in any capacity. So just like for reference, it's like what I'm wanting to see is a pretty significant from here now, a pretty significant drawdown to this former little shelf thingy majigget. So if you're looking at the ES, that would be about 100 points down on the ES. No, is that right? What's wrong with you? Why are you so stupid? No, that would be the daily you need to look at. No. About 40 to 50 points down on the ES from here is what I would like to see. But that's just to my eye and what I'd like to see. We have decent volume this morning. We didn't get, a bunch of quote unquote mayhem globally or domestically over the weekend. So we do have some things going there, or maybe they're just saving it all up for when the market opens before they start, doing what they're doing. Either way, we have to acknowledge that flow was not all that bullish coming into this week. So opening up like this kind of puts bear in a position where they have to make the decision. Not so much bull having to make a decision, but bear is going to have to make a decision whether to cover out or double down. There's really no in between with where we left the market Friday coming into today. So because there's a real lack of in my opinion, tangible news, let's get into these charts, man. You start breaking it down for us.
All right, let's do it.
There really isn't anything tangible that's meaningful, in my opinion.
We don't have anything on the docket as far as...
No, we had Empire Manufacturing came out. The numbers were poor, which was, bad for the dollar, good for the market. You're like within that moment. So we had that. We have a Fed speaker, I think at like 10:30 this morning. I think it's Harker. And that's pretty much it for today, as far as things that are meaningful. If we wanted to go in it, why don't you go through this, and then I'll go through the economic calendar at the end of the little cast.
Okay. Well, here's the 60-minute chart. When it comes to kind of where we're at in the setup and that sort of thing, the way this is laid out to me, it's like it's pretty clear what we need to do. Hopefully the annotations on here make it clear for everyone else, you can see this trend line resistance that we've got here thus far on the hourly from the 44.30 half highs. You can also see this 60-minute fair value gap down here that we left behind on this move up. And so far, we haven't had a candle body close below that. Every time it drops down into that area, this 60-minute candle over here was that last sort of sell candle or low candle, dropped down into it, and it got picked right back up, right? So this is the key area that it needs to hold right in here. And I'll show you what, I'll give you a couple of scenarios here, but now that you know where that comes in, let's look at a 15-minute. You can see this blue shaded box here marks that 15-minute fair value gap. We're trading into the top of it. You got that trend line just above. That comes in, depending on what time, 43.86. If it's later in the day, could be 43.80. That's where that trend line comes in. So you get the top of this 15-minute fair value gap, get through there. You have another one right in here. If it's pushing up and it's moving up, that may act as a speed bump before taking out this candle's high, 44.08. You got this little high, wouldn't worry too much about that, but above 44.08 gets us back into that gap, that regular trading hours gap that we looked at last week, with the top of that being 44.43 half. Now, when I look at this most recent move, you can see the midpoint right here, 43.85.75. And then going back, let's go hour. No, I got rid of that other one. That this leg right here. Yeah. You can see the that red line marks the midpoint of this down leg. So if we're looking at, going back to the 15-minute now, if we're looking at this move and the midpoint being right there, 43.85.75, gets through that into this higher 15-minute fair value gap right here. Right at the top of that, you also have the midpoint of the bigger move down, that bigger pullback, which I showed on that 4-hour chart. So that this area right here could provide, I would expect that for it to provide some resistance in here. If we're pushing up and we're looking for, everything's looking good, flow's not, flow says, yeah, okay, we're all right. We can do some ups. That would be an area that you could look for a pullback into a fair value gap to add to longs or get long or whatever the case may be. If flow's not there to support it, then we may have a tough time getting through this stuff. But just know that that's a big level for a multitude of reasons. So through there, like we talked about, you got this candle's high, 44.07.75. Then we can potentially attack that gap. We poked our head into it, didn't quite fill it. If we get back up in there, maybe we fill it up to 44, 43 or so. There's a new week opening gap about 20 points higher from there, but those are kind of that's the stuff that's within striking distance, if you will. This area in between these boxes is kind of no man's land. But I'll put a line just right in here. Just kind of support, you had this attempt to sell it back down. And that's where it kind of started the next move up. So I'll be watching this 43.67.5 pre-market. Now we've got a little 5-minute fair value gap in here. I'll be watching that as well. But if it takes this out and it doesn't recapture it pretty quick, then we'll start attacking these lows, taking out stops. Still have this gap sitting in here. I guess that was just put in last night, that gap up. So, below 43.67.25, then you got to start looking at trading back down into this fair value gap down to 58, and then attacking 54.5. So the only other, I said I would show you another possible scenario here that I'm looking at, and I still need to measure it. But if this is sort of a 3 drives pattern that ultimately resolves to the upside, it could mean that it needs to make one more push lower. 1, 2, 3. It's very possible. But right now it's sort of looking like this big, I don't know what you want to call that, the fallingest wedge, as usual. But that is a possibility. Again, I've got to measure it out to see kind of how it lines up, but we'll see. I think that's about all I got.
All right, very good. Stonks. Good morning, Stonkington.
Hello. Good morning. What's up?
What's up, buddy?
I'm awake.
Very happy to have the Stonkington today. Like, very, very happy.
That's good to hear. Let's see if I can prove my worth. We'll get into some stuff. Let's see. There we go. And yeah, let's see. So I guess no Sunny. Let's go through his stuff really quick. Disney downgraded. At UBS, target brought down to 110. Wayfair target brought down at UVS from 110 to 80. That's a big downgrade. We saw flow on that last week. Netflix downgraded. Total posting in the room. UNH overweight downgrade. Tesla overweight downgrade. Price target moved down from 300 to 290. JP Morgan, they are also downgraded. Piper Sandler is just firing shots over there, downgrading everybody. Let's see. I think we didn't have a ton of news that was too interesting, but let's see if we. Lululemon's going to be added to the S&P 500. I don't think there was too much else on that. Let's see. Dark pools. They keep hitting Roblox, which is rare. That one doesn't get a ton. There was also a big dark pool on Wayfair, so there could be something going on there. And we had a big dark pool on Friday on SPXS. So worth taking a look at. I'll just drop this one in the Roadhouse really quick. So it's the dark pools there, and then we can jump into some charts here. So smashing burgers, we had this candle closing, what was it? I guess it was we were looking at this candle closing above the prior day's high, so we would have shorted that low, which we got a nice little sell-off, and now we're back inside the range of those. And as Bender showed very similarly here, we've got this kind of falling setup here on the SPY, so we'll see what we get on that. Looks, potentially like we're in this kind of falling channel over there. A couple different things we can look at. If we jump over to, I'll get this NASDAQ chart going, we can talk through that. Let's see. All right. So weekly. So we've kind of ran all the way up and through this weekly fair value gap that was this candle's high to this one's low. I'm keeping it on the chart, even though we've gone, all the way through it, just because it seems like this could continue to be an important area. We're just kind of waiting on this falling flag, whatever you want to call it. And we just kind of keep coming up through in this area. So it's kind of what I'm watching here. Let's see. So we've got We've got the point of the quarter fibs to split up this weekly gap box, and I've got this one double marked as red just because if this was an order block here, that could be a bear that wanted to get in cheaper that brought us up this could be an important level if we get going to the upside, that 15,282.25. We've also got this fair value gap that was left on the sell. We've got this new week opening gap. It is interesting. They're a very different look than the ES over here on the NASDAQ. This could just be like a little bear flag here on the 4-hour versus that ES kind of looks like a nice falling setup. So we got this 4-hour run up. It's going to kind of closely line up box. $75. We could.
Is it just me, Bender, or is he coming and going?
Yeah, he's coming and going. I thought maybe it was my interwebs, but Stonkington, you're kind of coming in and out.
Let me try one thing. Check. Anything different?
Hi.
Better?
It's different.
I mean, you sound like you're in a bathroom now, but it
All right. Well, I was always trading from the bathroom. So that's not new. All right. Yeah, so that's kind of what we got going here on the NASDAQ. This would be an order block level below. So we get going down here. I'm going to be watching to see if we do that 14,903. And that would be based on the daily last red candle before the push up. So let's see what we get if we go down there. If we jump over to the Russell, Russell's running out of stops to hit below. If we zoom out here, we've got, once we took this out, then we'd really have to go back further before we were, we'd have to start looking if there's a weekly fair value gap back here. But it feels a little bit like last step line of defense for recent stops here. Below, we've got Russell sitting on the new week opening gap, which is this smaller pink box. And then we've got a weekly volume imbalance, which is going to be this larger pink box. So we want to see run up through that, candle close through it. Gold box is going to be a daily fair value gap. Kind of what I'm looking for on the Russell would be potentially just take out these break-even stops below for another run up. But we'll see what we get over there. And then, if we can get cooking through here, we've got this daily fair value gap, and then we've got this order block line that we've been kind of tracking for a few weeks, where there's just been a lot of reaction for whatever reason to that 1776.60 over there on the Russell. One of the interesting setups going into this week was going to be AMD. What's the daily here? All right, so AMD was stuck in this falling setup. Looks like we've topped it. So I'm going to be watching to see if we need to come back down and retest this. Maybe something right around here. See what we get on this level. 104 flat, psychological round number. Zooming in on AMD, I think this is going to be an interesting spot here as well, because we've got kind of this trend line going to the upside. So I think there's a lot of things lining up to see what AMD does right here. If we lose this could have just been kind of like a rising setup and a failed breakout of that down channel. So we'll see what we get over there on AMD. And then the other one I want to look at is gold. So, we have this weird, crazy macro environment right now with gold. And, it's like massive pop right up into this trend line. It was this candle on Friday, which is a big run. And I think, if people are looking for defensive places, if we're going to be in a, whatever's going on and in Israel stuff and all that, it seems like gold is going to be something to watch. So, and we ran right up to this top of this kind of channel here. So we've talked in the past about a breakout on a Friday being more significant because traders are willing to hold through the weekend. So I think I'm going to be really focusing in on gold, follow the levels. For anyone out there who's like wondering how to follow along, if you're not trading futures, you can be looking at the gold ETFs. We saw activity in the NEM, so you can be looking for flow and trades on the gold miners. But I'm going to be focusing on gold. You can also, this one moves quick, so depending on your risk tolerance, you can also be trading minis on gold. There's the MGC. So a couple different ways you can follow along. Same goes for crude. You can be following along trading minis on crude, MCL, because that moves quick as well. Can rip your face off when you're wrong. So those are going to be kind of things. And commodities, I think, is going to be a key focus. Crude has also been moving off this news from Israel. We had that big run where it was running with the dollar. Then that kind of cooled off, and now gold's moving again because of the uncertainty in the Middle East. So I'm going to be focusing a lot on commodities this week, and I think that's all I got.
Very nice. Thank you, Stockington. All right. So as far as data that we have this week, let's kind of retouch back into it. Obviously, there's going to be earnings. I think banks are still reporting that kind of stuff. We have retail sales tomorrow. So watching the flowing around your Amazons, Walmarts, Targets, those types of things could be worth your while as far as watching that flow. We get a pitter patter of data. We get CPI coming out of Canada. We're all kind of tied in, so it'd be good to see that number come in properly. And then we get GDP out of tomorrow night, I believe, out of China, which is always, there's a level of market move with that if you're awake and looking at it. There is more global data than domestic data this week. There's a lot of domestic data, and we're going to have, foreign data, and we're going to have a lot of Fed speakers this week also. So I think that's going to be worth, really, really paying attention to as far as the flow. What are they looking for? Again, it's like we were pretty bearish coming into this week, even though there are a couple of upside lines. But it sounds as if they downgraded pretty much every ticker on the planet.
Yeah, there's a lot on that list.
Right, but it also sounds like those downgrades are also have price targets higher than where they're trading.
Yeah, it's a little bit. It's like,
love it when they do that, right?
Which is kind of cute, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh no, we're downgrading from Tesla from 300 to 290. Well, Tesla's trading at what, 250, 260? So 10% move, 15% move, and you're going to balk? Okay. Anyways, I think this is going to be another week that you have to worry about headlines, worry about whatever action. I think some of these headlines can give really, really great opportunity if you don't get screwed by the headline, as far as reversing whatever it may be. It's like the fact that, and you brought something interesting with commodities there, Stonk. And so I think crude is one in particular to kind of take a look at. We had that big pop, and then it pulled all the way back down, and then we had a little pop, and now it's pulling back down a little bit. It's running flat on the day. Gold is down 0.5% also. Silver down 0.5%. That's, getting into some of these areas and ranges to where whatever intensity was being offered up, it's not coming through in the pricing. Because I think if they really felt like there was a massive conflict on the way, crude would be trading closer to 100 and not 80.
Interesting. Yeah, technically on the charts, we had that massive run and then, kind of cooled off. So, here I could see it being a weakness spot just based on the chart. But, the macro environment's obviously going to play a key role.
But it is apparent that the market wants to move up here a little bit. We're getting volume and a nice pop now. So we have about 14 minutes until open. I strongly suggest everybody just try to be sharp and make sure that what you're entering is what you think and that your plan is, your chart is matching your expectation. I think that's always an important piece of it. Just be smart. I know in here we're going to be very, very focused on what's going on with the VIX because it re-entered the equation last week as far as being problematic. I think between the VIX and the dollar, we can get, if we're diligent and seeing what it is as opposed to what we want, we can have a really, really nice week. So that's going to be my focus. You guys have anything else?
Nope, nothing from me.
Banner says
No.
no. Stockington says
I'll just reset them. We had dark pools on the VIX that we've been bouncing around and through, so I'll reset those alerts.
cool.
Keep an eye out in the room. Otherwise, we'll be good to go.
All right, everyone. Let's have a good week. Let's have a good day. See you soon.